first and foremost, welcome into Studio B, and good on you for making it to your mat for your practice today. This is going to be about a 30-minute flow-based practice, and today we're going to be operating from the inspiration of the sage Bharadvaja. And I'm going to pause for just a moment because we have one more person coming in. Let them get into the room. Welcome in. This is Ashima, wonderful. Nice to have you joining us. We're just getting started. So once again, we begin by just welcoming you into Studio B and congratulating yourself for doing the hard work of just showing up and getting here. We're going to move for about 30 minutes today, and we're going to be operating from a place of inspiration from the story of Bharadvaja. So Bharadvaja was a sage that is primarily known for living 3 lifetimes where he exclusively dedicated his life to the study of the Vedas. And he did so living a very excluded life, almost cloistered. And at the end of his 3rd life, the story says that Shiva showed up to him and he said, you know what, like, you're kind of missing the point. The point of you gaining all of this wisdom and knowledge, of having this innate knowledge and ability, this passion for learning, is for you to share it with others. And so it is said that Bharadvaja was gifted one more lifetime, and in that 4th lifetime, he spent that entire lifetime sharing the knowledge and the wisdom of the Vedas. And so the pose, Bharadvajasana, which we will be doing 2 forms of today, is an opportunity for us to physically embody this idea of twisting around and looking beyond ourselves, of thinking, what are my gifts and talents that I can really look to offer to the world? And so with that in mind, let's start getting into the body in child's pose near the back of your mat, please. And once you find the knees sort of wide, we're going to open up the upper back and chest by taking a crisscross in the arms. So right arm over left, walk the fingertips in opposite directions, and just let the head melt over the outer arms. And you can let the arms relax here, and for me that means that my palms kind of naturally rotate towards the ceiling. And I'm going to take about 2 more breaths here, and I really feel this in the muscle. It's called the rhomboids, which is right in between the shoulder blades, stretching out here. And then lifting the head, keep your right arm over to the left, but unthread your left arm, walk both hands diagonally to your left, and fold in for a C shape in your child's pose, and maybe melt the right temple down towards the mat. And in the poses of Bharadvajasana, it's an open twist, so we want to really build some space in the sides of the body for that pose. And then lifting the head and the heart, let's walk the hands in, bring the inner knees together so you're like in hero's pose. I'm going to turn to face you so you can see me. Take the left arm alongside you and thread your right arm behind your back. You might just rest the right hand on your spine, or it might find your left bicep. And just take a couple breaths here in hero's pose with this half bind in the arms. And just one more breath here, softening the right shoulder, feeling a connection with the front of the core. And then gently release that right arm. Maybe take a roll or 2 of the shoulders. And we'll take that little warm-up sequence on the second side. So back into your child's pose. This time left arm over right. Walk the arms away from each other. Let the arms relax. And again, just a few breaths here to open up the upper back. And maybe just identifying for yourself, just thinking, you know, what are my gifts and talents? What are things that I am talented at or am particularly gifted at that might be of service to my family, my community, the world at large? Lift your head, unravel the right arm, and walk the hands over to the right, maybe turning the head to the right and letting that left cheek find the mat for a couple breaths. One more breath to create some space in the left side of the body. And then as you walk the hands in, we return to that hero's pose, inner knees together. I'll turn to face you once more. This time, right arm alongside you, left arm behind, and gently holding on to the front of that right arm. And this is just really gently starting to build the intelligence of the shape of Bharadvajasana in the body. Last breath here. And then from your heroes, interlacing or releasing the interlacing of the left arm, bring the hands to the mat, tuck the toes, lift the hips up high, and start to find your first forward fold, walking the hands back to the feet. And we're going to take a twist here in Uttanasana. So the feet can be quite wide. Take your left hand in front of your right foot, right hand to your sacrum or low back region. Begin to deeply bend your left knee while pushing and straightening through the right, and then begin to twist to the right. And then the last option is to extend the right arm to the ceiling here. Again, we're developing that twisting capacity in the body. And every time we twist in this practice, thinking, how can I start to look beyond myself? And then look down at the mat, unravel. Take a breath in Uttanasana, just letting that twist unsettle, unravel it in the body. And then switching sides, lift the head, right hand in front of left foot, left hand to sacrum. Keep the left leg straight, deeply bend the right knee, and then start to pivot the torso around to the left, and then extend that left arm. And so the question for our practice becomes, how is my practice, me showing up here today, how does that enable me to be of service to others? Unravel, come back to Uttanasana, and then walk the hands forward to downward facing dog as we start to move into some flow, building into some sun salutations from this position. Give yourself one more breath in downward facing dog. Maybe the gaze is back at the toes. And then looking forward, let's step the right foot forward and gently lower that left knee down. You could keep the fingertips down, you could bring them up onto the right thigh, or you could extend them up to the ceiling. So we take just a couple of breaths in a very classic, basic Anjaneyasana pose. One more full inhalation here, and then let the exhale melt the hands down to the mat, step it back, downward facing dog. We'll move through Ashtangasana this first round, 8-pointed pose. Without moving your feet, lower your knees, chest between the thumbs and chin out front. And then sliding onto the belly, lift from the back of the heart to find your cobra pose. And then lifting the hips and returning to your downward facing dog. Nice full inhale here. Exhale, letting the left foot float forward, right knee lower down. And again, there's 3 options here. Fingers down, hands on the left thigh, or arms reaching up. Really grounding through the legs, but finding this freedom through the upper torso. Hands down, step the right foot forward to meet the left, forward fold Uttanasana. And then circle sweep the arms out. Maybe a little back bend at the top feels nice. Bring the palms of the hands together. And let's keep the cadence of the flow going. Inhale, lengthen the arms. Exhale, bring the palms back together, position 1. Inhale, reaching forward up, a little back bend at the top is 2. Long spines folding over the legs is 3. Stepping the right foot to the back of the mat, right knee down. And then keep the left fingertips down as you sweep the right arm up to the ceiling for an open revolve twist in your Anjaneyasana. And typically, when we twist in yoga, we're often doing it towards something, a closed twist. And so you might just engage your curiosity, how does it feel different to be open here? And then lower the right hand down, step it back, downward facing dog. You could repeat that knees, chest, and chin from the first round, or shift forward to plank pose. Lower through chaturanga. Inhale, rolling over the feet to upward facing dog. I'm going to give you the option for a little more heat building back to chaturanga, and then lift the hips back to downward facing dog. Nice full breath in here. And out. And then looking forward, stepping that right foot forward, melting left knee down, left fingertips on floor or block, and right fingertips on floor or block, and left arm up to the ceiling. And as soon as we get in the shape, The immediate job is to reconnect with the breath. So I'm always checking in if I can take a full breath where I am, that I'm in a good place. Lower left hand down, left foot comes forward to meet the right. And then turn on those listening skills. Inhale, lift up halfway, tabletop. Bend the knees, sink the hips, and rise up to Utkatasana, either hands into heart center or arms reaching overhead. Feeling that power in the legs. The seat is moving down and back. We've got equal distribution of weight through the feet. 2 more full breaths here in Utkatasana. Front ribs drawing in and down. And then we'll stand all the way up to take a back bend and to seal that out. Last round. Inhale, lengthen those arms. Exhale, palms together. Inhale, forward, up and back. Folding over the legs, maybe feeling a little bit more openness in the body now. Left foot back, left knee down. Same thing, right fingertips on block or floor, left arm up. You could stay here or add on by internally rotating the left hand. Bring it onto the low back and see if you can walk the fingertips around to find the right thigh. Beautiful. And you can think of these different options almost as like bus stops. You know, where do I want to get off the bus today? There's not a good stop versus a bad stop. It's just where you need to go today. And then re-extend that left arm up, inhaling. Exhale, hand down, step the back, downward facing dog. And then again, either knees, chest, and chin, or coming forward to plank through chaturanga, into cobra or upward facing. Option for a little more heat with a double chaturanga, and then back to downward facing dog. We'll step forward, left foot forward, right knee down. Left fingertips to block or floor, right arm up, opening up that twist. And then maybe getting off on the bus here. This is where you stay, or internally rotating the top arm, letting it come to rest on the low back, or walking it around to find that half bind on the left thigh. And as much as this pose requires a little bit of effort, I'm making sure I'm also making space for some ease. And then inhale, reach the right arm up. Lower that right hand down. Right foot comes forward to meet the left. Circles, inhale, lift up halfway. Sit back into that chair pose, palms together. This time we're going to twist our chair. I'll turn to face you. Inhale, lengthen through the sides of the waist. Exhale, only using the muscles of the abs. Turn the left elbow towards that right knee. Pause for a moment. So we're not touching yet. This is just muscular action. Now peek down. Where's that left elbow in relation to the right knee? See if just using the abs, those transabdominals, you can hook it over. And then push that right palm down into the left. Roll that right shoulder onto the back and see if you can rotate your gaze up towards the ceiling. And this is that action of Bharadvaja. Finally, in that 4th lifetime, figuring out how to look beyond himself. And then look down, lower hands to floor, hips to ceiling. Take a breath in Uttanasana. Really nurture that exhale. Keep it long and full. Second side, in that revolved chair pose, bend the knees, sink the hips. Lift those hands to the heart. Inhale, bring in that length. Exhale, just using the power right here, twisting right elbow to that left knee. And then I pause here for a minute. Okay, where am I? And then see if I can just use the transverse abdominis. Hook it over. Push left palm into right. Navel slides to the left. And then maybe revolve my gaze. Full breath here. Looking down, unwinding. And then circle sweeping the arms, coming all the way up to standing. Keeping the arms to the ceiling, we're going to move into Prapadasana, the tiptoe pose. So just as it implies, start to peel those heels up off the ceiling, rising up onto the balls of the feet. There you go. You'll feel this strengthening the calves, the ankles. And we're going to take a twist here. So I'm going to turn sideways. Inhale. As you exhale, drop the right arm just parallel to the floor. So you have a capital L shape with the arms. And then see if you can start to look back. Can you actually see your right hand? Actually put your eyes on it. That action of revolving, looking outside of yourself, and then start to control the transition. Right arm back up to the left, wobbly, wobbly. And then second side, left arm comes back and around, just parallel to the floor. Remembering the transition is part of the pose. Learning how to look beyond ourselves by physically embodying this twisting and this looking backwards gaze. And then slowly coming back up to center. Inhale here. Exhale, we'll lower the heels at a count of 3. Lower 3, they're not touching yet. 2, they're still not touching. 1, and they touch. Good. Wiggle your feet out a little bit wider than hip distance apart. Turn them out 45 degrees. Inhale here. Exhale, sit it down. Malasana garland pose. So you can really snuggle the shoulders in the inner knees, and then thumb moves towards heart center. This is a really nice decompression to the low back after all that twisting. It's a really nice time to close the eyes, drop into the experience of the body and the breath. And just see how are my body and my breath in relationship to each other right now? How are they doing? And then if you closed your eyes, open them up, hands to the mat. I'm going to turn sideways as we come onto the knees and we lift up to prepare for a back bending pose, Ardha Ustrasana, camel pose, half camel pose specifically. So if you want a little bit higher place to work towards, you can tuck the toes here. Okay. I want a slight engagement in the bottom glutes, not so much that we're clenching, just to secure the pelvis. Sweep those arms out and up. Option 1, bus stop 1, take the left hand to the low back, lift the upper thoracic and find a back bend here. Option 2, left hand to the back of the left thigh, going slightly deeper. Option 3, left hand to heel. Remember, toes could be tucked. Let the head drop back, right arm melt back, and find the breath. Last couple of breaths. Slowly rotate your head over your left shoulder, looking over towards the floor. And then inhale, look up to the ceiling. Windmill the arms forward. Sit back into a hero's pose. You can either have palms down for grounding, or you can stack palm into palm and take about 3 breaths, about a 15-second little micro meditation here between sides. Noticing if the breath is feeling a little sped up or tight, and try to relax it a little bit. And then we'll do that second side. So rising back up onto the knees. Knees are about hip distance apart. A little gluteal engagement just to secure the pelvis. Circle sweep those arms out and up. And then option 1, right hand to low back. Lift the upper chest and heart. Option 2, right hand behind the right thigh. Or option 3, right hand to heel. Ardha Ustrasana. Melting the head and the arm back. For the final couple breaths, slowly rotating the chin over the right shoulder, creating that blueprint for revolving that we'll need in Bharadvajasana. And then looking up, windmill the arms, and sit back to heroes. Just about a 10-second little check-in, just witnessing the body and the breath. And then coming into some forward bending work, we're really starting to get into Bharadvajasana. Take a seat and extend your legs forward. I'm going to face you for all of this so that you have a clear view of the shapes. And we're going to begin with Ardha Agnisthambasana, half fire log, taking the right ankle over your left knee. And then we'll sweep the arms out and up, left leg nice and active, and fold forward towards that left leg. And then we're only here 3 breaths. It's pretty quick. So every inhale, lengthen the spine. Every exhale, melt and soften in. So we're using the breath as a tool, number 1, to bring us deeper into our own inner experience. And number 2, to really maximize what we can get out of the shape. As you inhale, reaching the arms up, coming up. And then 2 options here. You could come into Janu Shirshasana, right foot to inner thigh, or half lotus pose, Ardha Padmasana, right foot to left hip crease, melting the knee down. Arms coming up wherever you are. Left hand to right knee, twisting open like we've done throughout this practice. Chin rotating back and around over the right knee. You could stay here, or final option, take that right hand behind your back. You remember this, and see if that right foot is available to find a toe bind. If you have the bind, you could keep it, or you could release it as we take the torso, pivot forward. Inhale, reaching 1 or both arms up. Exhale, folding forward, 3 breaths, either in Ardha Baddha Padmottanasana or Janu Shirshasana. And then reaching out, coming all the way up. Releasing that right leg, upward facing table, bring both feet to the mat, hands behind you. Think knees forward, that's gonna do all the work for you. Knees forward, and that's gonna lift your pelvis. Take 3 breaths here. Beautiful stretch to the front of the shoulders. Feeling anchored through those 4 points of contact. And then slowly lowering the pelvis down, switching sides. Right leg extends, left foot in that Ardha Agnisthambasana, half fire log. Arms reaching up and folding forward, just 3 breaths. So really maximizing your time here. And so just thinking, maybe you come onto your mat to take care of yourself. Coming all the way up. Either Janu Shirshasana, inner foot to inner thigh, or half lotus, Ardha Padmasana. Arms reaching out and up in either case. Right hand to left knee, left arm behind you and twist. And then if you want to experiment with the bind, that left hand comes behind the back, and we just see, is that left foot available somewhat easefully for the bind. And then you could keep the bind or release it as you turn the torso straight ahead, reaching 1 or both arms up and folding forward, 3 breaths. So in some ways, our practice is the most selfish thing that we do, taking care of ourselves, nurturing ourselves, and yet ultimately, it's done so that we can be of service to those around us. Lifting all the way up, either repeating upward facing table or upward facing plank. Both legs extended, arms behind you, big toes down, and I'll turn sideways for this one. Lifting the pelvis, rising up for 3. Trying to really imprint the sole of the foot on the mat for 2. And then as you exhale, releasing the pelvis down, we've reached that pinnacle point of the practice where we'll work with Bharadvajasana B. I'll face you to do this. So we're gonna take the left leg and bring it around left heel to outer left hip. Option 1, come into almost like a deer pose, right sole of the foot to left knee. Option 2, come into your half lotus, right foot to left hip crease. This is the foundation of the pose. Then circle sweeping arms out and up. Left hand to right knee, right arm behind you, and twisting around. You could stay right here, or for the final flourish of the pose, left wrist pulls back and comes underneath the right knee to stamp down. That brings your torso diagonally forward. Then the right arm comes around. Find the big toe bind. See how all of this threads together. Lengthen the spine and rotate your gaze back and around over that right shoulder. And remembering, it doesn't matter how deep or how full of an expression you've gotten in this pose. What matters is, are you embodying that lesson of Bharadvaja? Taking what you know, looking beyond yourself to be of service to those around you. And then looking forward, release the bind if you have it. Simple Dandasana, extend the legs forward, press the palms down alongside you, and just take a full breath. Second side, right knee, internally rotate, right heel outside the right hip. You're doing amazing. Left foot in, either deer pose or half lotus. Remember, the sides of the body are different here. Circle sweep those arms. Right hand to left knee, left hand comes behind you. You could work with the pose right here. Or for that final step, taking the right palm, flexing the wrist, and stamping the left knee down onto the palm. And then that takes the torso forward, left hand behind you to find the toe bind. Lengthen the spine on the diagonal, and then pivot and rotate the head around. And wherever you are, we want the breath to feel like it's full, uncompromised. And then we slowly come out, extending our legs out, arms forward, and controlling our descent as we slowly lower to the mat for a brief Shavasana. And just seeing how quickly we can drop into that experience of relaxation and stillness. Noticing when your mind starts to want to figure out what comes next, knowing that the practice will be coming to a close soon. And see if you can use that awareness to just be here for a few more breaths. And then using your next breath, maybe just taking your thumb and gently rubbing it against each of your fingertips. And then as you're ready, lengthening the arms overhead for a full body stretch. And rising back up to a comfortable seat. And seeing as you come back to your seat is how quickly can you use that transition to drop back into stillness just for these final seconds of practice. And then we'll bring the palms of our hands together in gratitude for the teacher of Bharadvaja and the lesson that his story offered to us. May we use this practice to be of service to those around us. Jai Shri Sakuru Maharaj Ki.